Okay, good afternoon everybody. My name's Councillor Christopher Day. I'm the Chairman of the Licensing Committee. Welcome all of you. To my right there's Councillor John Grady, and beyond him is Councillor John Clatworthy. To my left is Jen Ager, who's our legal Supremo, and beyond her is Tom Phelan, who's from WRS. And we've also got a couple of councillors in the room behind you. Would you mind introducing yourselves, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Duncan Craig. I'm here to represent the applicant, who is...
Natalie Elliott of Dubs in the Middle Festival.
Thank you.
Richard Bentley, Cheltenham Parish Council Chairman.
Thank you all. Okay, just to let you know, we'll be following the procedures that are outlined in item 4 in the agenda, as usual. And I'll start now by asking Tom to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. Members are asked to consider and determine an application for the grant of a premises licence in respect of Dubs in the Middle, Brookfield Farm, Pershore Road, Worcestershire, WR11 2RB. Copy of the application submitted by the applicant is attached to this report at Appendix 1. The application contained all requisite documentation, including the fee and plan of the premises. It can be confirmed that the application has been advertised in accordance with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003 and associated regulations, and that the application has also been served on all of the responsible authorities. The licensable activities and timings that they have applied for can be found at 2.4 of the report, and the designated premises supervisor identified in the application is Natalie Elliott. Dubs in the Middle has been running as a festival since 2014. It has previously held a licence in Wychavon to hold the annual festival. The applicant has applied to hold 2 events per annum on the premises per calendar year. Each event will run from Friday to the following Monday only, and the date of each event will be provided to the local authority 6 months prior to the event. For each event, an event management plan will be provided. A draft event management plan will be submitted to the local authority, police and environmental health 6 months before the event taking place, and the final agreed event management plan will be submitted 14 days before the event start date. Each festival will take place in accordance with the final agreed event management plan. The application has been forwarded to all the responsible authorities prescribed under the Licensing Act 2003, and no representations have been received from any of the responsible authorities. In response to the public notice, 4 individual representations have been received from members of the public objecting to the grant of a premises licence. These objections relate specifically to the licensing objectives concerning prevention of public nuisance and public safety. In summary, residents have expressed relevant concerns about potential noise nuisance arising from the proposed regulated entertainment to be held on site during day and night, potential for pollution and litter on site and in the surrounding area, public safety primarily due to the anticipated increase in traffic entering and exiting the site at speed from a B road, public safety on site due to the possibility of surface water flooding. Other issues have been raised, however, these are not considered to be relevant considerations under the terms of the Licensing Act 2003. These are possible impact of noise from farm stock and local wildlife, disruption due to expected rise in vehicle numbers in surrounding area, leading to significant traffic congestion, disruption caused by visitor parking on surrounding roads, and implications for public rights of way on a near footpath. A copy of the representations are attached at Appendix 2. The subcommittee is obliged to determine this application with a view to promotion of the licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. The subcommittee must take such of the following steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and that's grant the application as requested, modify the conditions of the licence by altering or omitting or adding to them, or reject the application in whole or in part. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, what we'll do next is if you could speak in turn. I guess if we start with you, Duncan, if you're representing Natalie, if you want to add anything after that, and then we'll ask Richard to speak. At the end of each person's sort of speech, there'll be an opportunity for everybody to ask questions. There's no particular time limit. This is the only item on the agenda today. But what I would say is if I think you're going way off beam, I will sort of put my hand up and interrupt, but otherwise, just do say what it is that you feel you need to say in relation to the application. Is that okay for everybody?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make one very small correction? It's for 2 events from Thursday to Monday, and the application itself reflects that. For example, page 21, I'm just giving you an example of indoor sporting events. It's from 9 a.m. To 2,300 hours for that activity on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think Sunday's on the next page, and then it goes through to Monday. So just so you're aware.
Thank you for the clarification. I've actually written down here from what Tom read out that it was Friday to Monday. And looking on page 8, I was going to ask the question, where does Thursday come into it? But you've just identified it, so thank you for the clarification.
Not at all. I have to say, he's been fantastic, by the way, in terms of the way he's organised this hearing. These things frequently happen. There's so much information going back and forth. As Tom has just indicated, I guess this is, in many ways, for Natalie, a homecoming, should you be minded to grant this application, because, as you've heard, she did a festival last year at Hanley, this year, forgive me, but yes, the year just gone at Hanley, but prior to that, she was in this district since 2014, save obviously for the hiatus that occurred during the COVID pandemic. And it's also worth me pointing out that she lives about a mile from the festival site itself, again in the district. So she's very much wedded to the local community. And actually, I did ask her before we came in if a couple of years ago she could have had the choice between this site, this proposed site now, and the other site, which is at Malvern Council, she said she would have preferred this site if she had the option at that point in time. So I think she's quite excited about this site for lots of reasons, not least because of her ties to the local community. So if I could just please, first of all, invite you to turn to the application itself. And specifically, if I may just ask you to turn to page 34. In the agenda pack. So I actually went to the festival last year. This year, if I say last year, can everyone just please assume it's the summer that's just gone? I went to the festival this year, and I actually met with Worcester Regulatory Services and had a walk round, and certainly there were no issues that arose from that particular festival in terms of any complaints around nuisance or any other issues in relation to crime and disorder. The reason why I'm mentioning that at this stage is discussed before the application went in, discussed the operating schedule with your licensing authority, and we were agreed that it was sensible to replicate the conditions that were on that license on this, and so that's what this represents here. There were a couple that were specific to that license that we didn't include. That would have been daft to do that. One relating to a school that was nearby, but the reason I'm mentioning that at this stage is just simply to establish that it's a tried and tested license. Conditions on that license were again crafted with your licensing authority at Malvern, for the festival. So you can take it as read that certainly from the licensing authority's point of view, these conditions are appropriate, proportionate, enforceable, and suitable for this particular venue. And I guess at this stage it's incumbent on me to point out that there have been no representations on this application from any of your responsible authorities. That doesn't diminish the force of any local residents who've raised concerns, but certainly the guidance does point you towards the fact that they are the experts in their fields, and certainly I guess for a festival such as this, the two key responsible authorities are the police and environmental health, particularly in relation to concerns around nuisance. And so they both looked at this application and considered it to be appropriate, otherwise they would have made representation. So I'm not going to read the conditions out verbatim, but just so you can get a flavour for what's covered on here. First of all, it's 2 events a year from the Thursday to the following Monday, and there's a requirement that those dates are notified to the police and environmental health and the licensing authority at least 6 months in advance. So that's plenty of notification for them, and there will be a limit, a capacity limit of 4,999, which I think is about 1,000 down from last year. So keep it more family friendly. I'll talk about the style of the event shortly. There's a requirement there about regular contact with the Police Safer Neighbourhood team. There's a requirement for an event management plan, and you can see there's a comprehensive list of matters which need to be included on there, and I'll turn to the draft event management plan towards the end of my presentation. And that is required to be with the relevant authorities at least 6 months prior to the event, so that I guess it's triggered around the same time as the notification. And then the final agreed event management plan is required to be produced at least 14 days before the event. These things are working documents. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of back and forth. And then there's a requirement that each festival, each of the 2 potential festivals, which is the maximum limit, must take place in accordance with that EMP. That's a further condition. In terms of crime and disorder, there's conditions around searching and day visitors not being allowed to enter after a certain time, requirement for a written drugs policy. I do have to say I've been to a lot of festivals over the years. I would say that this is very much towards the bottom end of the scale in terms of drug use. I don't think it's something any festival with thousands of people can completely eradicate. That's wholly unrealistic, but certainly having been to quite a few festivals, both in a work and social capacity, certainly there's not any issues here in relation to that, but it's obviously still important to have that policy. Requirement to display clear legible notices, engagement with the Ask Angela scheme, and to ensure that the festival is alive to issues around spiking. Requirement that the festival gates are open at 9:30 on a Thursday morning to deal with concerns around vehicles. Again, then restrictions around movement in vehicles. One of the representations has expressed a concern around regulated entertainment. So just to be clear, a couple of things about that. First of all, it's generally recognised within licensing that 11 p.m. is when the night time properly commences. That's why the Live Music Act, for example, with certain caveats, the exemptions under the Live Music Act cease at 2300 hours. That's when it's seen when, for example, as I say, regulated entertainment commences in its entirety, and that's when late night refreshment commences. So 11 o'clock is generally seen by environmental health departments as when matters can be tolerated much more before that time. And so reason that's relevant here is we are seeking to have a silent disco after 11, and just in case anybody doesn't know what a silent disco is, it is where the music that is played into headphones that is audible to that individual, but is not audible to anyone else. So if, I don't know if you've ever been to anywhere where it's been played, but often you get places where the different music is played into different headphones and people are dancing completely out of sync with each other. Or maybe that's not the reason, but anyway, that's what a silent disco is. So in terms of the impact on neighbouring properties, after 11 o'clock, they simply will not be able to hear any amplified music after that time. And so that's quite a sensible compromise in terms of not disturbing neighbouring properties. Also, there's a requirement for the festival security team to monitor the camping areas. And I know from visiting other festivals, particularly family-led festivals like this, that sometimes you've got sort of teenagers there that they can sometimes be difficult to manage, particularly if they're in perhaps groups of 2, 3 or 4. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 families going together and the teenagers will hang out together, and I think it's quite important. I think that's probably more for the people who are staying at the campsite rather than the neighbouring properties, but it's important that, of course, that is managed. And then in terms of the protection of children from harm, what anyone would expect to see, a Challenge 25 condition with associated signage, refusals recording for that, a requirement to record that. Children under the age of 18 will be issued with an additional wristband just to provide an element of safeguarding there, and also a requirement for lost children's policy. And so I guess, there are 25 conditions there, but one of them greatly enhances those conditions by way of the event management plan. I don't propose, if you've got any questions about the event management plan or the noise management plan, Natalie's here to answer them, I'm here to answer them.
Approved by SAG, that one.
Okay, all right. You can have a little say at the end, don't worry. Just let me do the presentation, okay? If you want to just write anything down you want me to say. And so these documents are in draft form for next year's festival, which is fairly unusual at this stage, but it shows you, first of all, how keen my client is to make this work. It also shows how diligently she's approaching this, and should this licence be granted, then she would seek to get that across well in advance of the 6 months. You can see there the proposed date for the first event is the 21st to the 25th of May of next year, which is effectively the May bank holiday weekend next year. And so obviously any questions you've got, but what that shows is it's a working document, it's previously approved by the SAG, and would hope that would be the case. But of course, if they had any observations on those documents, she would respond to that in an appropriate way. Just turning, if I may, to the objections. I mean, I always say this, that licensing, a couple of things really. First of all, licensing is a balancing exercise. There's case law on that. Your own statement of licensing policy reflects that. The guidance reflects that. It's licensing as a permissive regime, and it balances out the legitimate business interests of licence holders and applicants, and placed in conjunction with the benefits that events such as this bring, both to the local community in terms of jobs and just the ability of people to meet up and enjoy themselves and hopefully enjoy good weather. But that, of course, has to be balanced against the negative impact that licensable activities can have on the wider community. And that's why we have conditions on licenses. That's why if people don't comply with those, they can be prosecuted, or the license can be reviewed. Because having a license is not a right, it's a privilege, and with that comes responsibilities. But I do have to say at this stage that not only has Natalie operated under licenses in this district as well as at Malvern without any issues, without any reviews, without any intervention from responsible authorities, but also she loves this site. And so if she's lucky, fortunate enough to get the license, if you deem it that you want to grant this licence. She absolutely wants to stay here. She wants to build up relations with the local community. And what she doesn't want to do is upset anybody locally. She doesn't want to be faced with a situation where she's having to defend herself. And so you can take it as read that she will take her responsibilities seriously. She understands, because she has the experience, she understands what those responsibilities are, and she will, of course, respond to any concerns that will be raised going forward. So just turning, if I may, and before I go through the representations, let me just say that she's had meetings with two. I know that the welfare of the animals was mentioned as not being relevant. And by the way, for what it's worth, I agree with that. But she has had meetings with Tony Carroll and at Stirling Stables, which are both situated nearby. And in actual fact, as a result of the meeting with Tony Carroll at the equestrian centre nearby, she actually adjusted the layout of the premises in order that some of the camping was moved away from those horses in order that any risk that they would be disturbed in any way was minimised. So she's already engaged there. She had a meeting with Cheltenham Parish Council last week. I was unable to attend, unfortunately, because I was in London, but she attended that and she's listened and taken on board the concerns that they had. Cropthorne Parish Council are actually supportive of the application in broad terms. Is that fair? She's nodding. So that's obviously a positive. The other objectors, I did offer to meet them, all of them. I'm excluding Cheltenham Parish Council from that because obviously that they have met with Natalie and I would have been there if I could. But those offers of meeting those other local residents were declined. And so that's, of course, the prerogative of anybody who makes a representation. None of them are forced to come here. None of them are forced to meet me. But I just wanted you to know that we had made every effort to try and meet them, to try and assuage their concerns or take on board any constructive suggestions that they may have. But that offer was spurned. So we've not been able to do that. And it is normal in circumstances where a festival is applied for to get representations and objections to that. I will say that the number here is very low, and that by extension there are a number of people who live locally who have not objected, and so it was a very assiduously advertised in terms of the number of notices application, and so one of the objectors has made reference to representing the views of the whole of the local community. Well, that simply, I would just say that simply can't be right, because if that was right, we'd have significantly more representation. So please just turn. I'll go through each of these because of the number that there are. Page 55, please. First of all, the reference to the 60-mile-an-hour road. Sorry, do apologise. Well, I've got it at 55 here. Oh, yep, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. It is. I was going to do them out of order. Right, so 53. So first of all, I mean, a lot of them obviously repeat what the others say, and that's not a criticism, by the way, because these are not untypical concerns that people express. So first of all, traffic and safety concerns. I would just say a few things about that. First of all, there's reference in one of the other representations to a 60-mile-an-hour road. Well, that is correct, and that isn't unusual. Most festivals are situated in areas that aren't surrounded by lots of housing, so accordingly they generally tend to be located on 60-mile-an-hour roads. Natalie has, or is in the process, have you put the application in, or are you about to put the application in?
The traffic management company
Yep.
are in the process, or I think they have submitted the
Fine.
temporary speed reduction.
So she would seek a reduction in the speed along the material parts of the road that abuts the festival down to 30 miles an hour. That's not unusual for festivals to do that for obvious reasons, and I mean, lake festivals, that for example. So that would be sought, and obviously there would be requirements through the event management plan. We're just turning back to that.
We also have operatives.
There's a requirement within that. You don't need to turn there, but just page 35. There's a requirement for traffic management and transport to be as part of that. So that will be part of the ongoing discussions that will be had with responsible authorities and other public authorities. Reference there to a lack of infrastructure with specific reference to power generation. Well, I'll just make the point, yes, there will be power generators there. That's normal as festival. And I have to make the point that living somewhere, even in a rural area, does not entitle you to enjoy silence at all times, 24 hours a day. Whether something is intrusive to the point of being a public or statutory nuisance is a matter of fact and degree, based on a number of factors: the level of that volume, the frequency of it, the hours it takes place at, what the level of noise is. And I just would submit that for a couple of weekends a year, power generators being on does not arrive at a point that would constitute, I would respectfully say, a public nuisance. Given you can, in rural areas, you can get sound of machines going without that being unusual in the slightest. It then goes on to say at point 3 about the 20 residential properties. Well, with respect, again, I'll just say what we're dealing with here is the representations that have been made upon this application. Everything else is speculative. And so I'll restrict my submissions to that particular, or those particular representations. Reference to a question, agricultural land, I've had an indication that's not relevant. I propose to address you on that. Same for environmental and wildlife impact. It then talks about community opposition, a significant majority of residents in the area. Well, again, I'll just make the point that isn't borne out by the evidence before you. Please turning now to page 55. Not a great deal I need to address you on here on the basis I'm not going to get into duplication. Obviously, I've addressed the fact of the 60-mile-an-hour road already. And the farm entrance obviously is part of the traffic management plan in any event. It then just says expected noise from a DJ and dancing until 2 a.m. That simply won't be the case. It'll be silent disco. The music will be inaudible after 11 p.m. on every single night there's an event on. Turning now, please, page 56. Again, talks there about live music till 1:30 a.m. It does make reference to the silent disco, but I think there may be some confusion over what a silent disco is. That's certainly, obviously, they're not here for me to ask any questions of Mr. Smith, assuming it's Mr. or Ms. Smith. But in any event, I'll just make the point that there won't be any audible music after 11 p.m. It then goes on to talk about the unspoilt natural environment. I've already addressed you on that. Heavy traffic associated with this event. Well, obviously there will be an increase in traffic. That's not unexpected when there's an event, but Natalie has a lot of experience in dealing with traffic management. It tends to be, Nat, do you want to just, I mean, do most people come on the first day? Is that generally it?
No, it's staggered across the 3 days, so you actually find, well, 4 if you include traders arriving the Wednesday. So actually you'll see a very minimal increase to the local traffic. It's like drip feeds. And
Yeah.
we've not had a previous problem before.
Thank you. And because the previous location reportedly experienced significant traffic volumes related to the event, I don't think, well, there may have been significant traffic volumes, but there weren't any significant traffic issues.
We didn't even get up onto the highway.
Right, very well. And it then says granting this application could set an unwelcome precedent for similar events in the future. Well, your statement of licensing policy says every case will be treated on its own merits, and this of course will be no different. We're dealing with this application, not any future speculative ones. Turning now to the Parish Council and their representation, page 57. Again, I don't propose to duplicate what I've said about the 60 miles an hour. People parking the cars on the road is concerned about that. Just so everybody knows, in terms of day visitors, there's free parking. There's no charge for that in the event, and obviously anyone who is staying, the parking is included in the ticket, so there will be no paying on the day. So there's no reason, and there will be adequate parking.
Yeah, they put the cones out to the traffic management company.
Right. So from that point of view, we would just say on that we are very hopeful that that won't be an issue. The surface water flooding, well, obviously, Natalie won't be able to put on any event that's unsafe, and so if that situation arises at any point, presumably that's from the Avon, I guess, is it? But certainly if that's an issue, she'll take whatever measures are necessary and appropriate at the time. But I can't make any bold prediction about what the situation will be. And she does have an adverse weather policy. And obviously it also says there's an official footpath running through the site, and obviously this must be kept open. Well, there's no question Natalie's going to do anything that's in any way unlawful. And again, just the number 5.5, the gardens of the residents of Boston Lane, Charlton, back onto the site. And the parish council feel this festival will be extremely intrusive into their private lives. The council understandably wonders how this would affect those residents. Well, I don't think anybody's made, I don't know if any of these are, I can't, because of the addresses aren't on here, I don't know if any of them are from that particular part of the parish, but obviously Natalie will be very mindful about all her residents.
There's a woodland that divides the two.
And there's a woodland that divides the two, which I'm sure you've just heard. It's obviously important that any applicant takes on board any concerns local people have, and I would hope that I've just demonstrated to you that first of all, some of those concerns hopefully are going to be addressed as a matter of course, and Natalie will of course respond to any further concerns that are raised. Some of these things can't be addressed at this stage, but she will of course apply her mind to addressing those things. I understand the nearest objector is about 800 metres away. That's what I'm told. I'm not, obviously that's what Natalie's told me. That's the application. Let's just talk about the festival itself, because I think it's important for me to get the flavour of what this is. Festivals can range from Glastonbury through to loud raves aimed at teenagers and people in their early 20s. This is very much a family event, and I can say that with certainty because I went to last year's event myself. It was not in any way, the music was not played at a volume that gave me any concerns when I was there, that any of the neighbouring properties would even be able to hear it, never mind suffer any public nuisance. It's predominantly aimed at charity. That's not necessarily, of course, that's not a reason to grant the application, but what it does demonstrate is that Natalie's motivation here principally is putting on a safe event that people can enjoy, that people can come back to again, and she does not want to upset anybody locally, and you can take it as read that she will. I mean, she has done that. She's already engaged positively, and this is a public meeting. The parish council are here. Just because these objectors, if this licence is granted, just because these objectors haven't wanted to meet up with me or her, that offer is still open. She does not want to be in a position where she is rubbing up against people locally. Obviously, again, if this application was open-ended and she could put as many events on as she wanted every weekend of the year, I would be making very different submissions and I would be in a very different place, and I'm sure the number of objections would be perhaps very different. But going back to the balancing exercise, what she's asking for here is a couple of weekends a year to put on events in terms of the output for regulated entertainment up to 11 o'clock at night. she's required to give 6 months notification on that. She's required to put a draft event management plan in 6 months before. There's plenty of notification. There'll be plenty of collaboration. Her door is always open to any of the local neighbours. And so I would submit that the application as it stands before you is a proportionate application that is seeking a very limited number of days a year and a number of events with all the benefits that can provide to people both locally in terms of the economy and in terms of jobs, but also in terms of people being able to come and hopefully enjoy the event, all the events I should say. So I don't know how you feel I did, but you weren't looking at your watch, Chair, so that is the application. And of course we're here to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Right, super. Thank you, Mr. Craig. So let's start then. Mr. Bentley, would you like to ask any questions of what's just been said? Well, I'll let you go first.
Car parking. You have potential for 1,000 to 1,500 cars in there. What sort of space have you allowed for it?
So day visitors is often a maximum 1,000 people, not vehicles. So obviously taking into account we're a family festival, often it's up to 4 people to a vehicle. So I don't think we've ever seen beyond 400 vehicles.
Your applications for 5,000 people.
Yes, that's I'm on about the day parking that you just brought up. That the.
Well, I think the question was about parking generally.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So address both people who are there for the whole event and day parking.
Okay, so we get around about 1,200 camper vans camping on site. We've had the site mapped out and we allocate an 8 metres by 8 metres allocation to each vehicle. The site can actually hold a lot more than that, but we've restricted it to 1,200 because you still have to put in fire roads and to allow that some people might take over slightly more than 8 by 8 metres. So there's perfectly adequate camping space, and then the day parking, as I said, we allow for around...
When you say camping space, what do you mean?
So a camping pit
is that what you show on your...
Yeah, so the green...
drawing? That's towards the end of the...
Yeah, so the VIP area allows for 188 pitches. Those are 8 by 8 and
I think what you're not getting across now is that a lot of the people that come to this camp in their vehicle.
Oh, yeah, most people that come, I would say 90% of our turnout are people that will be camped in a vehicle, and once in, their vehicle is located on their pitch and won't move until they leave the festival. All that space has been allocated in the purple, the green and the dark blue areas. Then the car park is for day visitors, and that has been mapped out that we can get up to 500 vehicles in there. But we also have to work out that people will come and go. Not everyone will stay on site all day. So
I suppose the question that follows up from that, do you feel there's adequate parking?
Oh, more than enough. It's a lot bigger site than we had this year in Hanley Castle, and we've reduced the capacity.
So the majority of the camping will be camping vehicles and not tents.
Yes, so
a
it's
family of 4 in
a camper van. Yes, so you'd have, say, a motorhome with a tent attached to it, which is called an awning. So
Because I mean, Dubs in the middle is.
It's a Volkswagen festival. So
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, so 90% of the people that come are in a Volkswagen camper van.
Yeah.
So that 8 by 8.
Just something that cropped up whilst we were sat here, really.
But we've done
I
it.
thought you've got potential for an awful lot of cars. Yes. And within the response, we were also very concerned about people walking in and leaving cars around the area.
Yeah, there'll be no need for them to do that, and that would be covered in the traffic management plan. I mean, the last thing that wants is a load of cars parked on the roads. I know you don't for your particular
and it's not that accessible from the main roads anyway. Should people park? Yes, there's rights of way and things around there.
Yeah. We are going to encourage the public transport. Every half an hour there's a public bus that drops off just outside of the site, and we're going to use the new Wychavon bus service that's just been introduced. Yes, we're going to promote for that as well. So then hopefully, and then we work with a local taxi company, so they will come and drop people off and then leave as well. So hopefully that will reduce on the traffic as well. But this year the site was done based on an 8 metre by 6 metre pitch. We've increased that to an 8 by 8 for next year as well, so that we're allowing more camping space per vehicle.
Thank you.
The highways things really concerns us, really. You're on almost a crossroads there, and the speed of that road is... I understand you're going to have a traffic management plan, but that's a major concern for us.
Where you say crossroads, there's 4 dwellings opposite the site.
There is, yeah.
So it's not a crossroads as in a major intersection.
No, but they're 60-mile-an-hour roads.
Yeah, but we will have an operative that will be on the road.
Obviously, I think it would be sensible, for assuming the licence is granted, for Nat to share that traffic management plan with the parish council. So if you've got any observations, more than happy to do that. We can put that in as a condition if...
and
no
you
issue with
use a organisation for the method?
Yeah, they work closely with Worcestershire Highways. It's ARF management.
Mm-hmm. And we made a point about emergency vehicles. How does that interface with getting in and out of your site for those purposes?
Obviously, most of our clients will have arrived on site, but the road is wide enough because we'll use temporary matting to widen the actual entrance to the site is 3 vehicle widths. It then narrows, so we'll widen that road with temporary track matting so that there will always be one clear road for emergency vehicles into the site at all times. But most of our traffic will already have been in the site and parked up, so there's not a continuation of vehicles coming and going. It's a free, that road will be free most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, again, just turning back to the page 35, as part of the event management plan, you've got an incident planning, emergency planning there, and doubtless the relevant responsible authorities and potentially the ambulance service as well will obviously have input to ensure that at all times emergency vehicles can get access. That will be part of the event management plan that we require.
We've also put in an emergency access road around the arena, so there's always going to be an exit that's clear that the public won't be driving down as well.
Yeah, I think the other point is that generally with the Section 182 guidance, the statutory guidance says that it's a bit of an Animal Farm thing here. It says that all licensing objectives are equal to each other, and they are. But I think with festivals, public safety is generally seen as more equal than the others, shall we say, and so that will be at the forefront of the minds of even the police and environmental health, because obviously when you've got a significant number of people congregating together, it's important that they do so in an environment that's safe, and if something does go wrong, which because things do, the relevant authorities will be able to deal with that quickly. So it's a legitimate concern, but it's one that's inconceivable to me that the responsible authorities won't want to be dealt with in a way that is absolutely watertight.
We've also got our own medical management plan that will be presented to the SAG. We have our own on-site ambulances as well, 24 hours a day.
St John's, are they? Or?
We're using a local company, hopefully County Medical. They're based in Evesham, and so that they also are on standby should we need an additional ambulance. It's a mile away that they can bring in an additional one, so that we take the pressure off of the NHS, because that's one of our priorities, that we don't burden the NHS.
Councillor or Duncan, would you mind just explaining to the members what the SAG is? You've referred to it a couple of times. I mean, I'm aware what it is, but I'm not sure if the members know what a SAG is.
Oh, sorry. So the SAG is the Safety Advisory Group where the police, child protection services, environmental health, the ambulance service, highways, they all attend. We have to go through a briefing and we have to almost get their approval. They have to be, I don't know how to explain it.
They have to be satisfied.
Yeah, they have to be satisfied with our event management plan and all the things that we're saying that we can actually do. We can't just put something in it for the sake. We have to show that how we are going to action that plan. And so we went through quite a substantial SAG this year.
How many meetings did you have?
We had one meeting where everyone attended, but then there was a lot of correspondence backwards and forwards. Worcestershire Regulatory also attend, and I don't know what else. But it's almost like once you get your licence, that isn't just your licence. You've then got another hoop to jump through to make, and public safety is the main thing that is always brought up at it.
You mentioned the music stops at 11. Does that apply to serving alcohol, etc.?
No, the application is for the sale of alcohol. To forgive me if I just ask you to turn, please, to 31, page 31. It's 1 a.m. for the sale of alcohol, except on a Monday. So it's 1 a.m. Thursday going into Friday, Friday going into Saturday, Saturday going into Sunday, and Sunday going into Monday. And obviously that's a bank holiday, certainly for the proposed event next year. The opening hours are, so it's a bit slight anomaly there. But first of all, opening hours aren't really enforceable under they're not enforceable under the Licensing Act, but you are required to put those in there. But obviously those opening hours relate to the licensable area. There will obviously be people on the campsites 24 hours, but that just allows an hour from when the last drink is lawfully served for people to get away from that particular area. But it's 1 a.m, which I think is in conjunction with probably less than a lot of other festivals, but I don't think it'd be viable without that, would it, the festival?
No, we also allow them to bring their alcohol into the arena, so actually by keeping the bar, you're keeping them within the arena rather than wandering back out to the campsite. So our whole aim is to keep people into the arena and keep the noise contained into one area for as long as possible.
Yeah, a concern we had as well really was, yes, when you've shut the music down and everybody goes back to their quarters, is the noise from that. Because they won't be going to bed straight away.
You'll find that a lot will have already gone to bed way before 1 o'clock because of the families. There's lots of children that come, so most will have started leaving the arena probably 9 o'clock in the evening. So you've got a steady trickle going to the campsite early. They'll want to put their children to bed because obviously the children will be up early the next day. So the noise is also monitored by security that are 24 hours on site patrolling the campsite, so that, and we don't allow amplified systems in the campsite. So come 11 o'clock, any noise, I'll be going around and saying, please can you turn your music off? You're not allowed it on, because we follow the 11 p.m. noise into the campsite as well.
And I do disagree with silent disco, because you tend to find the participants are louder than the music. Because I've done it.
Okay, right. Well, I would highly doubt. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. You talk about in terms of singing to themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. We've all done
And
that.
all singing a different song.
I think that isn't going to be audible to properties at 800 metres away, though. I think that's unlikely. I would just at that point. But yes, having done it myself, it's a valid point you make there.
There's no bass, is there? It dissipates in the wind, whereas it's amplified music that carries the sound across a site. Also, by doing the silent disco, you're actually containing those that aren't ready to go to bed at 11 o'clock. You're keeping them within a marquee. So you're able to monitor them and keep them all into one area rather than have them spread across the campsite. So it actually reduces the noise by keeping them all in one area.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Okay, if I turn to my fellow councillors, any questions from both of you first?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just a few, maybe regarded minor questions, but just to clarify in my own mind, please. How far, if you know, is the nearest residential property?
The nearest one who's made a representation is 800 metres. How close is the actual nearest?
I would have to look on Google Earth.
Relative to that one that's
I
up
would
based
say
objection?
that it's less. I would say it's no less than it was at Hanley this year, which
Go
was
up.
400 odd
400.
400 metres.
Okay, thank you. You're going to have security people, which is obviously a part and requirement anyway. Will they have their own contracts as to authorities they have to deal with in the event of drugs, antisocial behaviour, etc.? You know, what authority will they have if there's no actual police on site?
They're governed.
Well,
They'll be governed by the SIA licence to how much they can act, which is the same as a doorman or any security anywhere. They have to act within the SIA licence.
But it is something that you have covered and will be taken care of,
Yes.
for want of another expression.
yeah, and there's a requirement within the event management plan for crowd management, which includes steward and security numbers and their roles. That's a requirement. Security provision is front and centre to any event like this. It's as important as any other factor, and obviously it would only be people who were authorised by the Security Industry Association to carry out those reserved activities.
The next one I've got has already been asked and answered. It was to do with the car parking and whether or not you considered there was sufficient capacity. You've answered that, and thank you very much. You mentioned in your original submission that you had attempted to engage with other parish councils.
No, the other objectors.
Or the other objectors.
Yes.
Did they give any reason why they wouldn't engage with you when you had made them an open offer to do so? Because if you're that open that you're prepared to engage with them and listen to them, did they give any reason why they wouldn't engage with you?
Well, so the offer, I didn't contact them directly because I don't think it's always a great look if a legal professional's contacting residents who are objecting. So I went through Worcester Regulatory Services and the response I got was that they declined to. I think one of them said that they'd stated their position and they weren't going to change their position. Look, sometimes people don't want to meet a barrister and think they're going to be, you know, that we're not the most trustworthy of people, perhaps. That's unfortunately a cross I have to bear, I guess. But I don't think any particular inference should be drawn from that. There are lots of reasons. My point wasn't so much that they'd refused to meet; it was that we'd offered, and that offer is still open.
I did publicly post online to speak to anyone as well,
Okay.
didn't I?
I mean, the reason I ask that question is that totally alien, away from this, if I was objecting to something that I'd seen and there was an opportunity to go and discuss it, I wouldn't decline it. I would go and discuss it because face-to-face can sometimes be far better than emails. You get tone, you get understanding. Emails, if you get auto-correct and things like that, you can end up with the wrong words and so on and so forth. So that was just my reason for that. But you've covered that, and thank you for that
I
one.
think the other thing is, even if you haven't met and you can't reach agreement, at least there's a level of, there's an open dialogue then but look, the door's open. If any of those objectors want to speak to me on that going forward, they've not missed their big chance. Don't worry. We welcome that. As I've said, she wants to have a good relationship with the people nearby because that's in her personal, selfish interest to ensure that this festival is something that can continue going forward. If you're minded to grant, it's very much in her interest.
I've got one more. It's more of an observation than a question, and it refers to the objection by M. Smith on page 56.
Yeah.
Stating combined with live music until 1:30 when the application identifies 11 o'clock, not 1:30.
Yeah.
And also alcohol consumption until 2,
Yeah.
when alcohol consumption is in the application until 1. So have you had any thoughts as to why that individual would put those times, or is it just an assumption or a misunderstanding as to?
Well, I think the first bit's a misunderstanding. The second bit is actually strictly correct, actually, insofar as consumption of alcohol is not a licensable activity. So the sale of alcohol will end at 1 a.m. People can consume alcohol after that, but then they can consume alcohol wherever, unless there's not a public space protection order, people can consume alcohol where they want in any event. So we're not, the licensing act, it doesn't deal with consumption. Consumption is not a licensable activity. It is, so I can't say it's not correct, but ultimately what we're dealing with here is provision of licensable activities, and the licensable activity will cease at 1 a.m.
Thank you for your answers. Thanks, Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. Excuse me, you've given us a very detailed explanation of the event itself. Can you explain how much time and disruption there's likely to be with the setting up, and B, the dismantling of the site, the removal of the stands, etc.?
So that.
So the build-up is done very gradually, that it won't have any impact. We don't operate late nights on builds either, so we operate within, say, like an 8-9 p.m. maximum, so we don't want to create any noise for the local residents. It's a very quiet build-up, though. So I would say the build can take 10 working days, and then the pack down is we aim to be done by the Friday, the following of the same week, so 5 days. So overall, is that 3 weeks?
Yeah,
yes, 3 weeks. But this year, I just want to point out that we were right next to Hanley Castle School, which was sitting their GCSEs while we were building up on the festival, and they couldn't hear us at all.
Fine, okay, just some questions from me then. So, are you asking for a licence during the build-up time? Did I see that in there, that there was something from Monday to Thursday as well? No? Not during normal hours?
The licence would be limited to 2 long weekends, but it would be 2 weekends a year, and it would simply be from the Thursday as a maximum. They shouldn't have to use all of that. From the Thursday to the Monday, twice a year, nothing outside that, no.
Okay, so there's no alcohol being sold
No.
while the build-up is being done?
Absolutely
Fine.
not.
The previous location that you had in Evesham then, so this is a new site for you. I appreciate that you've done the festival many times before, but this is a new site. Where were you before that in Evesham?
We were just off of the A46 between Badsea and Broadway roundabout. It's a site called Ashdown Farm. It's where they hold Wartime in the Vale. If you're local, you might know the site from that.
It's about 3 miles away from the existing
Yeah,
site.
as the crow flies, it's 3 miles away, but it's not coming off of the busy A46.
Okay, and you chose not to go back there?
We outgrew the site, and we needed a bigger site because we found that vehicles are getting bigger in general. So where most people would come in, I'm not going to bore you, but they would come in a transporter, which is like your builder's van. Now we're finding that they're turning up in crafters, which are nearly double the size, so they're needing more camping space, hence why we've increased the pit sizes. So we felt that we needed a bigger site to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. You've previously done 1 event per year, and now you're looking to do 2. What's the thinking behind that?
We used to do 2 events at Ashtown as well. In 2000 and I think it was 2016, 17 and 18, we ran Dubs of Anarchy, which was a Volkswagen and motorbike festival. So we did do 2 events for a few years. Then COVID came and we stopped and we went back to just doing 1. But we would like to do 2 moving forward. But not Dubs of Anarchy.
I was going to say, because I mean, up until now, you've painted the picture of it's a family-friendly festival. Everybody's going to be going to bed at 11 o'clock. Why then would you want two events? I'm presuming you're looking at a different market.
No, we would do 2 Volkswagen-based events, just different times of the year. Our event is so highly respected within the Volkswagen scene that we're asked all the time, can you do another event, can you do another event? And it would just be to what's the word? Just for our customers, really, for the customer satisfaction, and because I really truly enjoy what I do. It's my passion. It's and also we like to raise money for the charities.
Okay, so what I'm expecting is it's a similar sort of event, same audience, different time. So when do you do them currently?
So Dubs in the Middle is always the Whitsun May Bank holiday, so that's the end of May. The second one would be slightly later in the year. We'd probably look at August or September.
They would be spaced out, which I guess if perhaps it was 2 weekends on the bounce, that might be more intrusive on neighbours' lives, but they're spread out over the course of the
It wouldn't
summer.
be the other August bank holiday, so they wouldn't have
No,
2
no.
bank holidays
Okay.
either. So.
Okay.
The silent disco then, so they're not entirely silent. I mean, I've been to them as well. I mean, you do have the singing, you do have the stamping of the feet and what have you on the floor. How soundproofed is the arena area? I'm expecting the answer to be not at all, really, because it's basically a tent, isn't it?
Actually, quite well. We do all our entertainment is within marquees. Now, you say marquee and you think it's not very soundproof, but the disco tent is fully enclosed. So there's 2 layers of PVC out the back, so that blocks noise going backwards because you have to go through 2 lots of PVC. And from the front, we have doors. So it's a fully enclosed, and when the doors open, you do hear an increase in noise, but there's security guards constantly shutting the doors as people come in and out. So it does create quite a lot of a sound barrier. Also, it's on grass, so you don't hear any stamping of feet. Whereas if you were on a hard floor in a building, I appreciate you would. But the sound really does, I think the words dissipate really well within the air, and you won't hear it at the campsites, let alone off a site.
It's actually not that it's particularly, I suppose it is relevant, but it's certainly not material to your considerations, but inside a marquee under the Licensing Act is deemed to be indoors, believe it or not, which I actually discovered that a couple of years ago. I didn't even know that before. But maybe that's a slight recognition there. There's a little bit of deadening in a marquee, but obviously it's not the same as a building. It would be daft to suggest that.
Sorry, I was also going to say, the silent disco is only for a maximum of 250 people. So it's not that you've got thousands of people either, because we only ever get 300 headsets, and that's only so we allow that we've got spares to swap in and out. So it's only actually 250 people maximum that you would have in there. So it's not thousands of people singing.
Okay, just this business about the traffic. Now, I was surprised actually that we don't engage the highways team when we look at these sorts of events. I appreciate we talk to the police, but the highways team are not one of the advisors. I mean, looking at the map, from my recollection of driving it, it looks a straightish piece of road, but obviously, as has been mentioned by the parish council, you can get up to quite a high speed. What you're telling us is you're going to hope to be able to limit the speed on the main road to 30 miles per hour.
So you apply to the county council.
Yep.
Sorry, you apply to the county council for a temporary reduction, and obviously they will, subject to, obviously that would need to be to their approval. But yes, that would then be a lawful reduction in the speed, and that would be signposted. Obviously, there would be signs up to that.
And what are the timeframes for that? Does that run from Friday to Monday for the whole period, or is it just through for certain hours of the day? Or
It would be Thursday to Monday, and then the operative would work certain hours, like the heavy traffic times. Obviously, we shut our gates at, I think it's 8 p.m. I've put into it. I think 8 p.m. we shut our gates, so the operatives wouldn't work beyond that. Obviously, we do take into account if there's been accidents in the local area or on the motorway, so sometimes people arrive in late. But we would always, but that does stay in place, the speed reduction from the Thursday to the Monday.
so just so I'm clear, a day visitor comes, they haven't left by 8 p.m. They then leave on their own, but without any assistance. Is that what would happen?
They would, but you'll find most day visitors will have already left by that time, because most are in for the day, not in the evening. Those coming into the evening, sometimes they will leave their cars overnight as well, and they'll walk home or they get a taxi. But we also have security that will, and we have marshals that will double up with traffic management too.
Okay, thanks. Let me just check one other thing. If there's anything else. So just returning to the noise aspect of things, is there a limit on the amplified noise in decibels that you are allowed to operate at, or that you will be operating at? I appreciate what you've said about it can break out in the sound and so on, but I mean, I think actually there's quite a lot of Evesham that's within a kilometre of this site, or a kilometre and a half of this site. So if the wind's in the right direction, if it's a still day, etc., I think you'd be surprised how far you can hear things. Those that live near the Reading Festival would tell you that. And obviously that does use amplified sound. So I'm just interested in knowing, is there a limit on what you're operating at, or is it just unspecified in the law and we just say, well, we're licensing you, you can do what you like, effectively?
Sorry, as well as the event management plan, there's a noise management plan that's been submitted, and that deals with those matters, and effectively that is there to ensure that no amplified music reaches any noise-sensitive properties in a way that would be deemed to be a public nuisance. So it's contained within the agenda pack. It's at the back. There's a noise management plan there. It's copied over from last year's, but it's been adapted for this particular event. But obviously that's a working document. So when that engages with the SAG, Environmental Health will obviously get involved with this and discuss the noise management plan to ensure that is operated in a way that those properties don't suffer nuisance. So yes, it's not a requirement in the license, but it's part of the the way that the festival operates. Have you got anything you want to add to that now?
So that was the noise management plan that we operated on this year. The Environmental Health actually come and monitor quite a few years. You'll have quite a few records of the Environmental Health monitoring sound at neighbouring properties. This year they were at a neighbouring property which was 400 metres away from the marquee. You could barely hear it, and it didn't even constitute them being there. It was so quiet. So I can't see how a neighbouring property at 800 metres is going to hear it at all. The road actually creates more noise than what...
For those properties, not
yeah.
Actually at the point where the music is.
Yeah, but also all our stages are indoors. I just want to keep... A lot of festivals are outdoor stages. Ours are all indoors to contain the noise. And it makes a massive difference.
And just to stress, noise and vibration is a factor in the event management plan, so that's where it crosses over into the noise management plan, into which Environmental Health will have input, obviously.
Okay. Would it be possible to have a condition on saying that in the future that would remain the case? So in other words, the actual events themselves would be indoors as you're describing it?
Do you mean a condition that states that all our stages will always remain within marquees?
Yeah, effectively.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. I don't like outdoor stages. You can't, British weather.
No, fine. I mean, I think I'm comforted by what you've been saying about the two skins to the building, as it were, the fact that you are quite some distance away. I'm just mindful that in granting you the licence, you know, it might move on to somebody else, etc., who won't necessarily have the same approach.
When you say passed on to someone else, what?
Theoretically, you could transfer the licence.
Oh,
I know you won't want
that
to
would
do
never happen.
Okay, well,
I would surrender it before I would pass it on to someone, because it's my reputation, and I'm not prepared to have someone else tarnish that.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think I appreciate. You know, I don't want to exaggerate things, but you know, it is potentially noise for you know 4% of the year for somebody if you work it out arithmetically. Yeah, it's not that many people, but you know they've chosen to live there. They weren't expecting this to happen, etc., etc. So I think it's just it's that balance, isn't it, in trying to make sure that we look after both sides of the coin here. Fine. Then let me just check. There was one other. So just on the traffic side of it, for my benefit perhaps only, but I'm comforted to hear that you're saying you've got a 3-car width entry point. I think that because my understanding of it was that the lane up was really quite narrow, or at least that's what was said in one of the submissions. You're saying that can be widened. You're saying you'll have 3 lanes, you'll have one that's being kept clear for emergency services. So, fine. Nevertheless, I think you are looking at several vehicles arriving potentially at the same time. And when people turn in, you know, new site, they don't necessarily keep going at the same speed. People do slow down. I guess you'll have people trying to make sure that doesn't happen. You'll have marshals and what have you.
Yeah, so basically everyone will have their vehicle passes sent out in advance, which is all a coloured thing. So it's just a matter of pointing which way they need to go, because they'll have a coloured pass in their window. But the car park on the Thursday and Friday will be used as a, like, is it called a contraflow system? So it'll be a snaking system. So they will literally come in, follow the snaking system before they even get to a marshal, so that it has a long distance before they would back up onto the road. So
so it's obviously enabling a much bigger queue than would be the case if they were going in a straight line, I think. Yeah.
yes.
Okay, no, that sounds a sensible way forward. All right, I think that's it for now from me. Yes, did you want to go back to another question?
Just something dawned on me. With our wonderful weather, what it is, how do we deal with the mud on the road?
Well, first of all, it's not been a bad summer, to be fair.
It's been a fantastic summer,
But
but we couldn't guarantee it next year, could you?
In
Mud on the road is just as dangerous as a speed, to be honest.
part of our traffic management plan and the event management plan and adverse weather policy, we have a road sweeper on standby who would come and clean the road.
Okay, Councillor Clatworthy.
Sorry, it may well be within the application, but again, just for clarification, people who, for want of another expression, will be living on site in vans and whatever, they would presumably be encouraged to take litter back and put it in their vans and take it home with them afterwards. What do you have in place for general litter clearance, if you like, on a daily basis, and then removal of litter from the site? So obviously, when you ultimately close down and leave the site, it's as clean as it was when you arrived.
So we instruct a company to bring all the bins in. We use Smith's Waste Management Company. So we have 1,100 trade waste bins on site. We also have a full team of litter pickers that are litter picking the entire time. The bins are emptied daily every morning so that they don't overflow. All that waste is also recycled too at plant because of our environmental policy and then after the event, we do a thorough litter pick of the site. Just going to put that's my day job. I am a professional litter picker, so it will be done to a very high standard.
I was just going to say exactly what you said, that with your professional background in that, you'll be going around telling everyone, you've just dropped that, pick it up. And so, it'll be an ongoing thing.
From a personal point of view, having visited the festival this year, they are all over it there in a big way. I was struck by that. That was one thing that really stood out for me.
Also, we're Volkswagen people. It's about leave no trace. It is our motto. So they are really clean people anyway.
Right. Well, look, just to keep things going, so after you've spoken, which we've now had the questions on, believe it or not, we're now actually at the point where you can speak as well, Richard, and if you wanted to add anything. You don't want to add anything else? And what about you, Natalie? Did you want to add anything?
I think most things have been addressed, but I just feel that I need to let you know this is my passion and my life. Literally, my whole life surrounds Volkswagens and festivals, and I live in this town. I walk amongst the people that have objected, and I want to build that relationship. I want to be able to walk around Evesham with my head held high that I have delivered the best festival without hurting the environment or anyone that lives around the place. Hopefully that my passion has come across, that this isn't just a business to me. This means everything.
Understood. We certainly feel your passion, and now I recognise you from your litter picking, I believe, actually. Can I just ask two other things I meant to ask earlier? So electricity, you're saying you don't have it currently. Is there any option for it happening in the future? I noticed there is a building on the site there, it might just be a shed, actually. I don't know what it is.
So no, the whole site is actually solar powered, and that will remain on site with all the lodges. But every festival brings all the generators in. I don't know a single festival that runs off of the grid. You always bring in the generators, and we have a electrical engineer that signs off on that, on health and safety as well. So all the generators are brought in. All the power that we need is we put in on site, so that there's no burden on the grid or anything. And I think that's important to know that too. Same as most infrastructure of festivals is brought in.
Yeah.
Understood. And just on that then, is there a specification about the noise that the generators make? Because obviously there are old and new ones, etc.
Most generators are quite silent now. They're very low sound, and there aren't any generators in the campsite, and the campsite is probably nearest to the residents. The arena is where most of the generators are, and traders and myself included sleep near these generators, and they don't keep me up, so I can't see that they're going to impact on any of the local residents.
Okay, and then just finally, I think during COVID we found that with some of the tourist attractions that having a timed ticket entry helped traffic flow. Have you considered doing that such that you try and stagger the arrival of people? I don't know if you ever have a problem, but if let's say you were going to get traffic backing up on the B4084, that would be a way forward. Have you thought about it?
It's very hard to implement that because you can give people times, and if there's an accident on the road, it completely throws that out. I can honestly, hand on heart, say that we have never created a traffic issue, and I can't see that we're going to, with the fact that we're reducing our capacity this year, from this year. We're substantially coming down from a 7,000 to a 4,999.
You can say 5, don't worry.
Oh, okay. Okay. So from 7 to 5. So I can't see that we're going to create any problems now. If we found in the future that we created a traffic issue, it would be at the forefront of our problem solving, and we would make sure that we made a plan for the future years.
Okay, understood. Good. All right. Yes, I think that's right. So yeah, I think you get the opportunity for a final statement. I don't know if you feel like you've exhausted all the comments you made.
I don't think I could add anything to what Nat said. I think she's hopefully come across as a sincere person who cares about what she does and doesn't want to upset anyone. You've got the application. Responsible authorities are happy with it. there'll obviously be a dialogue with the parish council, and as I say, if any of those residents have any concerns now or before the festival, or anything they want to raise after it, if you're minded to grant the application, door will always be open, and I don't think I can add anything else now. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all. We will now have a period of deliberation. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you all very much for coming today and for presenting and giving us the opportunity to ask questions. We will be granting you the licence that you've requested with the condition that we outlined, you know, of the tent being used for 2 occasions during the year. We appreciate, you know, the effort that you've put in. You've obviously given a lot of thought to the application. We're able to answer all of our questions, as I think one of my councillors mentioned, you know, very quickly. So you've obviously been through a lot of this in your minds already. Yeah, I think, you know, provided you carry all of that out with all particularly the traffic management side of it, you know, we believe that this hopefully will work well, but obviously we'll be monitoring it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.